Pardon? Yeah, I'm judging because I don't know who else is. I want to be sure on the same scale, otherwise. Before I walk out.
Who else is there? There's like 8 people tonight, so we're gonna be very fast. Oh yeah, maybe we should get the judges to come up too.
Well, I just want to be make sure we're on the same scale, otherwise.
Yes. Okay. Could I just get everyone who's a judge just to raise your hands? Why don't you guys all group up just so you have a second to talk before we start? Oh. All right. Hey. Yeah, I do after we're done here though. Oh, you mean with everyone? Yeah, after the talks, we'll do that. We're gonna do all the news after the talks today.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We're gonna switch it around. Okay.
Do you want to test?
Oh, right.
Live stream?
Sure, go ahead. I just posted a link in the Slack. It says it's streaming. I'm not gonna fuss with it too much tonight, to be honest. If it stops, it'll stop. Maybe I'll just record
It looks
you.
okay.
Great. Okay, I am gonna record it too, maybe. Okay. Test, test. Okay.
So 3 things.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page with you guys. So what are you saying your criteria are gonna be?
Soft skills,
Okay.
content,
Okay.
and how well your demo.
Okay. Perfect. Hey, Mark, are you gonna then too? Perfect.
What?
Um,
I mean,
Do you
I'm
have
totally
an
gonna
order
judge
for
you.
those?
Oh, I'm just gonna go through whatever they were in the spreadsheet. So, and besides that, I think that is good. You know what? Could I lean on you to prep the next speaker as we go? They're in that talks one. Yeah.
Are we going in that order?
Yes. Let's go in this order. I think let's just put in their names. If like I just don't think we'll have enough room to do it, so let's just do their names. So we'll start with 1, 2. Hi, so are you still good with going first? You are. Okay. All right. And then after that will be Nathan. All right. So we'll get those 2 ready to go.
Did we have an open source entry?
I don't actually know. We had one. They couldn't do it tonight, so we're gonna have to go and see who does it. If there's no open source projects, the plan is to bump it to next month.
Okay.
So we'll have a separate one for that next
I was
month.
thinking when everybody comes, when this person comes up, we go,
Right.
"What?"
Basically.
And if they say no, then
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go get the trophies, and I'll give them to you guys. You guys will have those. Okay. Okay. We're just about to start. Do you know where the trophies ended up?
Oh.
No, okay. I'm gonna find them. Oh, they are in this box. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's the prizes. Do you guys want to come up to the front here? Tammy, do you want to sit up at the front here? Do you want me to see if I can figure out who's here and we can trade? I think this seat is still free. Okay. Okay. Oh, interesting. So we might be able to just like. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna order pizza here in the next few minutes. I went to a little word shop, shop. It was really cool. Yeah, it was neat. I'm just like, give me your coolest kind of nerdy words. So, a little robot. All right. Okay, I'll get this out of here. So Brent, are you sitting here?
Yep.
Would you mind terribly if I put one of the judges here?
Well, I am one of the judges.
Oh, are you one of the judges? Okay, talk to Tammy and Eston then, because they're the other judges. So you guys should all be on the same page.
Okay.
Okay. That's Tammy. Tammy, this is Brian. I don't forget. Brian's one of our other judges too.
Yeah.
And so Eston is over there. So why don't you grab a seat next to Brian here, and we'll figure out how to get Eston up here too. Okay, we're just getting a place for the judges to sit. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, this is so crazy. Okay, apparently there's a couple pizzas left in the kitchen from like a 5 o'clock that just ended too. So we might be able to just steal some of those too.
I'll go inventory. I think we need
Okay.
there'll be quite a bit of pizza.
Yes, I think so. If you want to, I can order it.
No, it's fine. I just want to get the names. We want to get the names.
Right. Okay.
But I'll do pizza inventory if I have 2 minutes now.
Okay.
Or if you're wanting to start, I will sneak out and do it, but it might be hard to.
Why don't you do the pizza count right now? And we'll just make sure everyone's got a place. Okay. All right. Everything's good here. Okay, guys, we're gonna start in 2 minutes, and I'm gonna warn you, it's gonna be fast and furious. So our goal is to get through all the lightning talks. We're gonna order pizza right now, with the idea that the pizza will arrive when the talks are done. So you can go chow down, think about your vote, and then when everyone comes back from pizza, we'll be ready to actually go and name the winners and stuff like that. So we'll see. It's gonna be an experiment. I appreciate you being patient. I'm just waiting for the word to go ahead, and then we'll be ready to start. 2 minutes here. Yes, you have time to quickly run to the bathroom. Uh-huh. Okay. I'm just looking here. We haven't dropped any frames yet, so that's good. I'm really just not gonna like change anything though. Okay. So I'm gonna start. Are we good? Okay. All right. Do you have what, 2 seconds?
Oh, I run out of time. I don't actually know how long this is gonna take.
Okay.
Because like the presentation about my app is gonna be pretty short, but
Okay.
I don't know like how long.
You know what? I would focus on the presentation, show a little bit of the code, but like just prove that you have code basically. We will only have 6 minutes. So I will stop you hard at 6, and I'll give you like a 2 minutes left kind of thing if you want, okay? So I'll just introduce you here, and basically you can come on up, maybe get ready with your laptop, and we'll just get started, okay? Sorry, the tripping hazard. Okay, I think it's the same as this one, isn't it? Or does it have HDMI out?
Oh no, I don't have USB, but I think I've used it.
Is it? Yes, you're right there. That's the same as mine, so I can tell you that will definitely work.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys, we're gonna get this started. We're gonna go fast. It's gonna be furious. So, thank you for coming out. Couple quick things. I'm gonna skip the news and push it to the back. And so first up, we're gonna go right into the lightning talk. Quick reminders. There's a code of conduct. Basically, treat other people how you'd want to be treated, and you'll be good. If you have questions, you can visit our website for the full thing. And if anything comes up, you can talk to myself, or you can also contact conduct at exchange.js.com. That'll come to me privately too. So whatever you prefer. Generally, be kind, be patient, be awesome. That's kind of like a motto. The other thing too is we have a bunch of people that have been here a few times before. We're trying to make it really welcoming to new people. So if I could get a show of hands, who has one of these yellow stickers on their name tag? Awesome, that's great. So basically what that yellow sticker means is if you have questions, if you just need someone to talk to, if you're a little freaked out by the whole experience tonight, find someone with a yellow sticker. They're there to help. They want to talk to you. They want to help. So let's talk. The startup Wi-Fi password and everything else is up here on the screen, but the password has changed. It's community1 now with a capital C, and it is very fast. They have new fiber here. It's very sweet. Yeah. The other thing I'll quickly just say is we do need organizers. One of the things that makes this happen is like having a great organizing group. We're gonna do our kind of election or whatever for organizers in June. You don't have to come in June to be involved, but it's nice to have a couple names down to do some planning over the summer. So June, it's our barbecue. Come out, pick who's gonna be organizing next year, and it would be a huge help. So, and with that, we're gonna get right into the talks. So I'll let Wendy take it away. Yeah, we'll plug you in here. So, and maybe just a quick, while you set up here, I'll quickly kind of explain how the lightning talks work. So just a quick show of hands. Does anyone not know what a lightning talk is? Okay, a couple of people, that's awesome. Basically, we're gonna have 6 minutes. There's gonna be no slides. It's not gonna be like PowerPoint or Keynote or anything. We're just gonna be showing off cool stuff that people have built. We're gonna focus on things that people have done. So it'll be demos. If there's time, show some code. Don't sweat if you don't get to it. We're not going to do any questions right now, but during the pizza time, you can go and approach people who've done demos and stuff like that, ask them those questions, and hopefully lots of people will come downstairs for the Mercer after as well. So I'm not going to say any more. We've got a lot going on. I'm just going to hand off the mic to you too so that we can hear you.
I yeah, it's wherever. Uh,
Okay.
okay. I'll just put this on this side. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Josh and I'm in grade 11. I'll be presenting what I did for my SciIA, which is basically a periodic table app with like a molar mass calculator on it. So you can access the app via GitHub repo thingy. So like free hosting because I have no money. Also, it is a dark thing, so you can see that when you're doing camp homework at like 11 p.m. because you played Minecraft or something, that you won't be blinded by the light. There are also multiple types of underlines. So for example, these represent the alkalines, these are alkaline earths, these are halogens, and the noble gases. Remember so you can also they're also color coded. Like for example, the red is like that means that they're gases at room temperature. The blue means they're liquids, and the gray means they're solids. So yeah, if you click on an element, you'll get a more detailed page. So on the left, we have the atomic number, symbol, name, and the molar mass, as well as the electron shells. On the right, we have who discovered it, who named it, which is like JSON file had null. A little short summary and the Wikipedia link, which actually works. Yay! And we can exit this by clicking the X on the top right corner. I also have a molar mass calculator, and like I made a placeholder here to show you guys how to like correctly input a molecule. So like once we start inputting once we start inputting a molecule, the page will actually update immediately. For example, let's say we have nothing in our input, then we'll have an error saying no recognized input selected. So if we start typing, let's say we type AG, which is not right because we need an uppercase letter. This is case sensitive. Let's say AG. Still, wow, it's silver. And we have the molar mass at the bottom, and then it's like highlighted at the top. So let's start with like a more complex one. C6H12O6, I think you may know that it's sugar. So we have the correct subscripts and all that, and yeah, and everything's high at the top. Let's move on to something more complicated. For example, barium nitrate, which is BaNO 3 and 2. So the parentheses will only be shown if the number is greater than 1. So like if you have a 1 here, there's really no need to put a parentheses, and the thingy doesn't do that. We can also do hydrates. For example, so if I put a space, it expects a hydrate. Let's say we put 5H2O. So that means that 5 water molecules kind of like bounded towards the barium nitrate. I don't think this actually happens, but this is just an example. Just like before, if we make this a 1, then there's going to be nothing on the front of the H2O. So yeah, so that's basically all my app does. This is like really far from perfect because, for example, I don't really have a legend that actually corresponds the colors to the sections. So I just kind of rely on like grade 10 or 11 chem knowledge for the kids. So for example, if you want to use this on your phone, and like, yikes. So like technically, it should be easy to make it responsive because like I use something called Elm UI, and like it has like a tablet data type which handles a lot of the device information for you. But I was really lazy, so I just put it on my extension portion of my IA. So hopefully I can just do it later. So yeah, how much time do I have left? 2.5 minutes. Okay. I'll show you some code. So for example, the data part. So I just got all my data from like a massive JSON file. So this is like something that the Elm code that like decodes it into my Atom data type. For example, this searches for the JSON part named name, and then it decodes it into like the string. My Atom data type looks kind of like this. Elm uses type aliases and stuff. It's actually a purely functional language. It's pretty nice to make web apps. My molecule data type, it's either a mono, poly, or hydrate. For example, if you have like an sulfur, monosulfur 8, which is an S8 molecule, H2O would be poly, monohydrogen, monohydrogen. Oh, this is not monohydrogen 2. My bad. Monohydrogen 2 and monooxygen 1, and everything is just wrapped in a poly because there are 2 types of atoms there. The molar mass calculator is a bit of a headache because I had to look through every individual one, and if it was a poly, I'll just recursively go through the atoms inside. The molecule display, like the same thing. I just look through the mono, poly, and hydrate, and I also had an if statement. If there's like a 1, then I won't do the subscript. And yeah, that's basically my app. Thanks for listening.
That was great. So who else was presenting at programming meetups in grade 11? I think that's pretty awesome. That deserves an extra round of applause, guys. That's awesome. Perfect. And under time too. That's pretty impressive. Okay. So up next we have Nathan. So I'll let Nathan come up here and get set up. And then Dan, you're going to be after Nathan. We have prizes for open source, so everyone's going to be asked that tonight.
I have 2 demos, and one is, and the other one I'm currently discussing with my boss if I can open it, which I think he will. Where's the check and an X? And I think it will be because it's just a very small demo.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Because then I'll switch over to the second one. Ready? So the Media Stream API is an API for accessing your webcam or your microphone and those kind of things. So here, these are just 2 little demos of some cool things you can do with it. And I'll go through some code. So here is accessing the web camera, and it's taking snapshots from the camera and then passing it off to AWS recognition to do face detection. And if you move your head, it can determine your pitch and roll. So it's trying to figure out if I'm facing the right direction. To do a liveness check to see if I'm a real person. So that's that demo. I'll show you the code for it. I won't be able to walk through all of the code, but barely, just some of it. This is just plain JavaScript, no frameworks or anything, because it's just a little spike to try this out. So hopefully everyone can see that. So there's like an there's in the HTML, there's just a video here that is called I'm calling the viewfinder. And then there's a canvas that called overlay that's using CSS to be positioned on top, and that's where it draws the boxes and the text. If we look in the JavaScript file, there's a video feed class, and we so we use this function called getUserMedia, and you pass in constraints. So here we're saying we want access to the video camera, and we can say which facing mode, whether it's user or environment. The environment's like it's on your cell phone. It would be like the front-facing versus the back-facing camera. And I'm saying I want at least a 720p resolution. For the most part, you can't really get higher. So far, I haven't seen any browser give you higher than 720p resolution, and then no audio. So we go and get that, and then we can like take the stream that comes back from the webcam and assign it to the video object, and that's how we attach those two, and then now you're seeing the video there. So now the next piece in here is to start capturing frames. So we have this start capture here, and what we're doing is we're creating a little off-screen canvas, and then starting this capture loop. And so what that will do, if I scroll down a little, is it has an interval of how often I'm going to capture a snapshot from that web feed. And all we do is on this canvas we call draw image, and we pass in the actual video feed into that canvas. So we're taking every like second we're taking a shot of the video, passing it in, and then I have 3 minutes. Oh boy, I have 2 demos, and then we can like convert that to a blob and then pass it down. The blob takes a callback, which here we're sending it to the server, and that's using just WebSockets, and it's going off to a little Go server that's calling AWS and sending back the JSON response, just so that the like API keys and stuff aren't living in JavaScript. So that's that demo. Oops, back here. This is another little demo of fast Fourier transform, if I'm saying that right. Using media stream. Here I'm saying give access to the microphone. And you can see that I could play some music or something, but I think you get the idea. So the code for that, let's go look at it, is kind of similar. Sorry. So similar thing, like we have an interface. I have like these 2 different views of the same data, which I can show a little more of why that was. But here's a function, asynchronous function, to get the microphone. Very similar, right? Because we're calling getUserMedia, passing in constraints. So here, in this case, we just want audio. We don't want video. And we're saying sample rates and things like that. So the next piece, after we get the microphone down here, we're creating this analyzer instance, and we're passing the microphone into it. So I'll go show you that part. I won't be able to walk through all this code. So the analyzer is using something called an audio context. In Safari, it's still called a WebKit audio context. So you need to do either of those. 1 minute? Okay. So there is built into the browser, there's actually like the fast Fourier transform stuff there. So you just create the analyzer, associate, again, this media stream with it, and then you can call, where is it? You can set up sort of how much data you want to be able to retrieve, and use this get byte frequency data. You can just call that to get back a bunch of data, and then the rest of the code in here is really just to draw the bars and stuff like that. So I don't think I really need to go over all of that. There's like this whole visualizer class that does all that part. Yeah, that's just a couple cool things you can do with Media Stream API. It's really neat to see what kind of things are showing up in browsers. Since these were little prototypes, I mainly developed them in Chrome. One of the reasons for the the reasons for developing this one, is we found that in current versions of Safari, it was clipping some audio in the high kilohertz range. So that's why we were making a little demo for the bug report.
Double demos is pretty good to do. Good job.
Okay.
All right. So I'll let you get set up here. Up next we have Dan Fan, and what are you talking about again, Dan?
The intersection observer API, but using it in the context for lazy loading assets or
Nice.
other things you're interested in.
And
It currently is public on CodePen. I'll be migrating it to a public repo on my GitHub. Oh, I don't have a. Is there?
adapter?
Yeah,
Yes,
I need the
there is an
adapter.
adapter.
It was just here. It worked before. So I can share the CodePen link shortly after I'm done, and then my GitHub following. Because I'm only on the free version of CodePen, I only have one project, so I will want to migrate it off. But
Does anyone know where the adapter for the display port
What?
went?
Yeah.
Okay, or if someone has a display port.
Imagine the intersection observer. Pretend your code, imaginary code. Let's see. Oh, it got out of full screen. Let's see. Is there a way? Just page. I guess I'll have the code pen. Okay. All right, so performance gains and lazy loading with the intersection observer API. So I wanted to talk about this because it's kind of a cool vanilla JS API. So I used this recently at work trying to solve performance issues on the web page that I was working on at .dash. So say I have something expensive on the page, like a really high quality image, some video files, some JavaScript calls with like heavy AJAX calls. I'm trying to hit third-party endpoint and it's slow. I can use this intersection observer API to lazy load that without needing any other libraries or etc. The base setup is that you need the object, the intersection observer. You pass it my callback of interest and some options, which I'll get into later. And then using your target simply and an element on the DOM, you can observe it, and it will tell you basically, am I viewing the object within the browser window? That's kind of the question that's being answered. So some of the options of interest is you can kind of define what the space is for viewability. By default, it's the browser viewpoint, but you can actually specify a different div or container outside of the browser viewpoint if you're interested in that. Kind of a margins around the div using the CSS selectors, the margin property. So top, left, bottom, right, if you're not familiar. So if you want to know before the div is even viewable at some distance away, you can use that property. And then the threshold property, which is just a number between 0 and 1 or an array of numbers within that space to tell you when to fire off your callbacks related with it. So you can fire off the callbacks bound to the intersection observer multiple times, which I'll show in a demo for purposes of interest. And then of course, in your callback function, you define the logic of what you want to load. So in this very high level example I have here, I'm just stating that if my object is viewable, I want to do my logic, so load some asset, generally in this comment, and then I clean up after myself because I'm done, because it's a one-time thing. But you don't have to do that. So I'm gonna go straight to the demo, and this took me a little while to try and visualize it. So instead of just looking at assets and network calls, I actually created a visual aspect of how the intersection observer works. So from 0 to 50, I have a purple div. As I scroll down slowly, it turns green from the 50 to 75% mark. And then as I scroll down beyond that to 75%, it turns red. A live demo of it in action. So as you can see, for this particular one, I just have a very basic div as my target of interest. And then I'm just using logic to determine my ratios to just change the CSS. So some of the cool properties is that you can use this for animations, for example, if you're interested in, say, before you hit some page element, you want to trigger a really cool animation for whatever fancy needs you want, and you can kick that off and set that up. But for lazy loading assets, since you say you have something quite heavy or slow that's being loaded on the page, before the user engages in that element, you can start the sequence of events to start loading that asset. So you can imagine that I will now load the image. I will now make that AJAX call for like the element on the page for the data to be populated on the page for something I'm interested in, or I can load like a video file. I will say for gotchas with page performance, because you are delaying your load after, because you need to scroll down and the user engage, the browser may reflow, which is an issue. So you need to consider maintaining the space of the div before your data is populated. So that is one gotcha that I will say with this type of method. So if you're trying to prevent operations on the browser, and optimize that, just keep that in mind. But it's a nice way to lazy load an asset without libraries and such. Where's my cursor? But yeah, as you can see, I made it so that you can scroll up and down and get it visually seen. In writing this talk, I looked at other solutions available today. One crazy thing is IE11 actually has a native solution where you can attach a lazy load property on the element of interest. It's not quite the same in that it doesn't quite delay the call, but it reorders the call. So you can tell it what things are higher priority to load before and after, and you can go into the documentation of how the browser works. There's several other JavaScript libraries that try and solve this, some of them actually using the intersection observer, but other ones using binding rectangle calculations of the div to see if the element is viewable, then you start the event. And then tomorrow, kind of alluded from last Exchange.js, Chrome 75 is going to add the lazy loading property to, say, iframe and other elements. So you can try using those operations. But this intersection observer, it's going to be rolled out in Safari quite soon in WebKit 12. I don't know about the state for Firefox, but it's something that you can consider using today. Is also supported in Chrome. And there's also polyfills available for any legacy browsers for IE11. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I think that's about it. Pretty quick. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna walk away with the mic.
No, it's not. It went all funny. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready?
Ready to go. Okay, up next we have Heather.
Okay, so I wanted to do a little animation, which was basically just tie the scroll and the fade into the scroll bar. And I did not want to use a library for that. And so I just did a quick, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to tie this into the on-scroll event. And it was shitty, and it was janky, and it looked gross. So then with a little bit of research, I very quickly came across the request animation frame web API, which has been around for a while, so supported by like everything. And this is really small on here. Oh my, and that's okay. That's okay, this is fine. Anyway, so this is the way that you would have seen it in the olden days, not the good old days, the olden days, where you do something like set timeout, and every 16 milliseconds do this callback function. And the reason you'd be 16 milliseconds is because monitor refresh rates are typically 60 frames per second, which gives us about 16 milliseconds per frame. So you try and line it up, wouldn't always work. So then with request animation frame, we actually get to lockstep into the refresh rate of the monitor, regardless of what the refresh rate of the monitor is. So we don't even have to try and guess. So it's just as simple as passing in your callback function run this before you do your next refresh. So what I wanted to show, because that was, first of all, made a big difference with the jankiness, but then I came across some other performance gains that you can do, and I'm just going to open up my Chrome Developer Tools and go to the Performance tab. See that? So I've done this move of this little box just a few different ways. In the first one, we're just changing the style of left position. Oh, and the reason so in that 16 milliseconds, we actually also have overhead that the browser needs to do. So in actual fact, we probably only have about 10 milliseconds to do our own stuff. So we want to keep our stuff really lean, but then we can also do some things to eliminate some of the overhead that the browser needs to do. So if we do just, this way, and we do a record, and I move this box. So this is just using the left position in our styles. And then we dig in, we can actually see what's going on. And so here's my code that I've done in the yellowy orange. We can see the recalculate styles, we can see the layout, and you can actually see that there's 8 other nodes that were impacted by moving this. So the more complex your site gets, the more impact that it has on other things on your page. We have update layer tree, we have paint, we have composite layers, and we have rasterize. So if we actually limit our animations to just using opacity and transform, we can actually cut out some of that overhead that the browser needs to do. So this next little box that I've moved is using transform and using translate X and just moving it across that way. And so if we record this one moving, and if we dig in, and you can actually see, I'll just point out, you can see they're not perfect 16 milliseconds frames either, right? So that request animation frame really helps us out a lot. But if we dig in, we can now see that we have recalculate styles, update layer tree, composite layers, and rasterize paint. And this is just the GPU putting it up. But we've eliminated 2 of our steps. Layout and paint we've no longer had to run with our overhead. So we've saved ourselves some overhead in those 16 milliseconds. We can do one more thing to improve performance and eliminate one more step of the overhead. And that is by promoting the element to its own layer. And you can do that here with will change and then transform our opacity. So if we record this one, and dig in, we can now see that we've eliminated another step, and we've actually only had to do recalculate, I can't even read this on here, recalculate styles, update layer tree, and composite layers. We've actually eliminated 3 of the overhead steps, and actually layout and paint can be some of the most costly overhead steps that the browser has to do with a frame repaint, so we can really eliminate a lot of that work. The one caveat is to keep in mind is don't just willy-nilly promote stuff to their own layers, because the more layers you have, they require memory and management. And so these 2 steps, the update layer tree and the composite layers, if you have so many layers, those steps grow really huge and can actually end up costing you performance issues that way. So profile, see whether or not it's a benefit to you, and just only promote to its own layer if it's actually going to move. So those were a few of the tips that I figured out when trying to animate stuff. And then I've got some awesome, there's so much stuff out there. Getting it into 6 minutes had to slim it down. But yeah, that's that.
I like that you showed the profiling tools and stuff too. That's sweet. All right. Anything else?
No, I'm good. My presentation is not open source. However, some of the tools I am using are open source. Expo and React Native are open source. Appetize is not.
Does that count?
No, it has to be. Okay, so I'll let Ian take it away, and here we go.
Hi, I'm going to do something stupid, and I'm going to make something right in front of you rather than presenting something I've done. I'm a big believer in React Native, so this is a snack from a framework around React Native called Expo that allows you to actually deliver applications right to phones very quickly. So this one actually has some audience participation. So if you want to all pull out your phones and actually install the Expo client application on your phone, you can follow along as I potentially humiliate myself. So it'll be fun for everyone. First of all, we have pizza though, and pizza is delicious, isn't it? It's just fantastic. I mean, look at this glorious pizza. If you are ever in Joiner Way in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, you can get some delicious pizza. So let's make a little application that has pizza. First of all, I need to click this or else it'll go away. If I don't click it about every 40 seconds, Appetize will reclaim that particular device image and I will lose it forever. If you have installed Expo, you can actually take a picture of this with your camera and it should open up the application in Expo. It should give you a little prompt that says open in Expo. Everybody grab it before it disappears. It's going to go away pretty quickly. I have to click the thing. If you have a modern iPhone or Android, the camera should actually interpret the QR code for you. Cool, it should have opened it up in Xcode. So first things first, there's live reloading. So we don't have to worry about some of this stuff. Let's just get rid of this item here. And first we'll generate an error. Beautiful, fantastic. Look, that asset is now gone. Okay, first things first, we need some pizza. So I have some cheat over here. Nobody look at the man behind the curtain. So let's get excellent. Let us apologize while I copy paste some stuff. I am sadly very pointer driven as a programmer. It's a weakness. All right, cool. So we have a list of pizzas now, a list of delicious pizzas. I have never tried these, but I can assure you they are delicious. The next cool thing is, wouldn't it be great if we could just include an NPM package in a snack just with like a single line? I mean, it's web-based. I can't possibly take this import statement and just kind of paste it in here and expect it to work. But, you know, I can click this button and then now suddenly my NPM package is now actually included in this. And then I need to update a few things here. So let's grab this, slide it over. We need to change which elements we're pulling in from React Native. So we'll just grab those. And then we need to deliver our pizzas. So first, let's get rid of some of this text. Let's replace it with just some other text. So you can see that, in fact, live reload, it's very hype. Now we need to render our pizzas. So we have a little render function here. So let's grab that and throw it into our class. Always make sure that you properly indent everything. It's the mark of a true programmer, proper indentation. I'm looking at you, Eston. Losing marks already. All right, let's add in our carousel component, which was that NPM package that we installed previously, but we need to add in a bunch of our styles. So let's do the final copy paste before my presentation is basically done. And I'm just going to generate some random styles by hitting the keyboard a few times. And look, second. Oh dear, yeah. Let's not put that inside the text. Following along with your phones, you can see that it's been pushed directly to your device. So you can see that React Native is actually pretty powerful in terms of quickly and easily bootstrapping something together. I mean, I had a little bit of preparation to do this, but this technology does allow you to, in a meeting with a client, or there are some concerns with React Native, especially due to performance with like long lists and things, because as it is compiling JSX to native components, it sometimes introduces bloat. If you take a look at the React component tree using the inspector, it's monstrous, and so particularly complicated screens can run a little bit slow, but the trade-off for running platform-specific code in less than 6 minutes across people's devices is pretty sweet. So that's what I've got. And I believe that was under 6 minutes, which means I don't know any of you pizza.
Now that you're all hyped for pizza, there is pizza on its way. Thanks for getting everyone real hungry.
I don't believe there's pulled pork pizza, lamb meatball pizza, or pan-seared slices of potatoes and tandoori roasted vegetable pizza.
So just to be clear, that was React Native with Expo, right?
That's correct.
So some of that was Expo and some was React Native?
Yeah, the delivering directly to device, you can accomplish that with the package manager, but Expo kind of wraps that and provides a nice, easier framework for it.
Cool. Oh, Mark.
Mark.
Yeah. Yes.
I did not build any software. The software I'm showing you can host open source software.
So let me know when you're ready, and I'll start my timer. All right. Okay, good to go?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to get started with Mark next. He's got a demo for us.
Hey guys, my name is Mark. I work at PunchCard. Rather than show you some specific software today, I'm going to show you the software that we use to host and manage our things that we build. So this is Azure DevOps. We use it to both host our repositories as well as our work items and a few other things that you'll see along the way. So the first thing you see here is the homepage for a particular project. You've got the title, a little bit about the project, what it is, along with some tags. At the moment, I played around with using a date in the tag so I know when it was built, but I haven't really decided if that's a good idea or not. I'm sure the rest of my team will let me know. The other part is there's a README for further descriptions. What we usually put in there is like development setup as well as deployment steps and that sort of thing. In this case, I haven't created it yet, but it can be sourced either from the wiki in Azure DevOps or from a README in your source repository itself. So the first thing I was going to show is the wiki. So what we use the wiki for mostly is our deployment release notes. So in this case, you can see it was deployed, oh, I forgot which way I did it. It was deployed last year in 2018. And the place it was deployed to along with the changes that were deployed. So I've got a few different tasks and bugs that got deployed with this release. The thing I like here is that when I'm creating these release notes, I just have to hit pound and then the number, and it auto-fills the link for me, as well as the status. So the nice thing about the status is that often it's easy to say like it's done, but forget to mark it done in your task repository. As we add these into our release notes, it shows up here automatically, so kind of a reminder to show that it is closed. So if you click on one of these links, and I pre-opened them just in case the internet wasn't working. The first thing you see, I clicked on the 5452 bug. So here's the entire bug, all the details, the discussion that happened during the fixing of the bug. And we actually use the task number in our git commits, which means that when I push, my task and my commit are automatically linked. So I can click on those, which will give me an automatic diff of the commit in question. So really easy way to do code reviews and just kind of get an idea of what actually changed for that particular item. Coming back into the deployment release notes here, I've also got some steps and reminders, kind of a standard template that we use. So in this case, I had to update some configuration settings as well as a database update, which are always a little scary, to be honest. Next thing I wanted to show you was the backlog. I'm just going to switch the backlog view from stories up to epics. So we use epics, features, user stories in that hierarchical manner, and pretty much always start our tasks lists with technical debt, parking lot, and the current version. If I just open those up, you can see here I've got some cleanup for technical debt, some items that are out of scope, so we've recorded them here so they don't get lost for next version and the client can pay us for them, hopefully. As well as the items that are in scope and in the current version. Within a particular feature, we've got different user stories and then tasks assigned to those. So switching over to the sprints, the first thing I'll show you is bringing up the planning board. I can see my current and future sprints, as well as my backlog if I want to link to it. So I always keep a triage sprint that doesn't have any dates. So that's just an area to put things in as they come up, so that we can figure out what's going on. Some of our clients do have stakeholder access, which is a role and is free. So that they can actually add feedback directly into the tool that we use. In this case, it might be some crazy client requests or potentially a bug. Switching over to the current sprint, my favorite view in the current sprint is probably the task board, which is a Kanban board. I'm sure everyone's fairly familiar with that. So we can see there's a few different user stories in this particular sprint. One of them's closed, so it automatically gets collapsed for you. And then this last one at the bottom, I've finished one of the tasks in it, as well as I'm actively seeking feedback from my clients. And once I get that, I'll finalize the wireframes in this case. We also tend to try and keep between 4 and 8 hours for a task that one person could finish, just to help kind of organize how we set these up. If I take a look at a future sprint, here I've got my current items. The first thing we'll usually do is come in, mark our capacity per day within the sprint period, any days off that you may not be at work, which if you come to the backlog and then show the work details, I can see that I'm actually underutilized, so I can add more items to myself as an assignment. We also host our code in Azure DevOps under the repos section, and we don't really use the CI/CD stuff. We have a different method of doing that, but we have started playing around with using test plans to help us keep quality on the software we build. And that is my presentation of Azure DevOps. If you have any questions, please come talk to me afterwards and let me know what you think.
All right, so we've got one more talk tonight. Yes. Oh, sorry, we have 2 more. Okay, I missed you, I'm sorry. Do you want to come up right now? Yeah, okay, let's do it. Sorry about that, Ian. I don't know how I did that. You're right, yeah, there it is. I was last minute. Sorry. Okay, so here you go. What kind of, oh, you have HMI, okay. No rush. Take your time.
I'm Derek, and yes, it's open source. npm install game grids. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
It's also on GitHub. DERR. Yeah. Feels weird. Looks weird.
I think we should do terminal. Right? Cut off a bit.
Yeah, it's cut off a bit. So, but mine it's actually like.
No, no, it's cut off.
Maybe I'll just. My demo involves a really large grid, so.
Okay.
Is that better? That's weird.
So do you have 2 displays? Is that what it's doing? It's like going to.
Yeah, maybe I'll just check the display properties. Yo, test. Right, so mirror display should do it, right? There we go.
Derek, what was your spell again?
Game grids.
Game grids. Okay.
Or just game grid. I wanted just game grid, but some guy at NPM has already got it.
Oh, so wait, is this open source?
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, npm install game grid. So I'm going to do it right now. Okay, so I have a blank directory here. Npm install game grids. And I'm just going to increase my laptop performance back to normal. Okay, so module installed. I'm just going straight into Node, baby. All right. Const gg for short equals require game grids. And let's create a new grid. I feel like I need a chair, but it's all good. I'll just go like this. Okay. Grid equals new gg dot grid. No, I'm digging this. I only got 6 minutes, man. Okay. New grid. Let's do a 3x3 grid. So, and then let's render it. So grid.render. So we got the little grid there. But I don't know, let's try something more interesting. How about 100 by 100? Okay, let's try rendering it. And okay, so it is a 100 cell grid. If I just extend my terminal, keep going like that. There we go. So we have this is a 100 by 100 cell grid. Okay, so let's try something a little bit more reasonable though, just for this demo. 6 by 6 should suffice. Okay, so we need something in our grid that's interesting. So let's insert H, this little guy H for hero. Let's render it, and let's turn on auto rendering. There we go. And then let's move the hero. Okay, all right. Now we're moving along. Okay, moving along. Wait, unfortunately, you can't move. You're at the edge of the grid, right? So you can't move, but you could still move south. No problem. Okay, and let's insert something else. How about T for tree? And put that at cell 4. Okay, and then I'm just gonna move back up north. Go back west. Okay, but we can move through the trees, so that sucks because trees actually should be like solid objects. So let's remove that tree, and let's add a little prop, same thing, but I'm just gonna add an extra property, passable false. Okay, and then let's try moving into it. Grid.move. Oh, we can't move into that tree. That's a solid object. So but let's do something else. I'll show grid. Grid 2 is going to be a new grid. gg.create. Let's make this sucker 15 by 15. It's going to be a cellular grid. And render it. Auto render. Grid. Oh, I made a boo-boo. I believe this is a bug. I may have to restart the whole node process. I ran into this a bunch of times, but I'm just going to quickly try to... 3 minutes. We can rebuild it. We can rebuild the grid, original grid. Get. Let's just const gg require gg game grids. Do that same line. Okay. True. Okay. Insert a hero. Oh shit. That's okay. This is the one that doesn't actually cause a terrible node process exiting requiring bug. Let's insert a. I'm going to insert a door, and the destination. Actually, before that, going to make the new grid. Let's try that cellular one again. And just go back up. Here we go. Okay, but this was the typo I made.
That's the library. This is the grid instance. Ah, no, this is the library, but I need to call grid. Great. And okay. And call this one again. Ooh, this is the problem with live demos. You run into bugs. Sorry, I can't help it. Render up. Yeah, you're right. You're really observant. Okay, let's just try that. Maybe that'll work again. Yes. New. Okay, is it gonna render? No, it won't. That was part of the bug and problem. So, all right, let's try one more time. I should be able to speed through this just by typing in the originals. Okay. Just want that damn cellular grid. Okay. This should work. Grid2.render. Yay! All right. But I'm assuming my minutes or seconds are running down. So like originally I want to actually show you in the original grid, you can insert a guy and then you run another function called enter. And then it will enter that whatever hero into this grid. And then it will remove him from the original grid. So yeah, and there's a bunch of other like utility like grid type functions available in the library. So yeah, thanks. How many time left? I think.
You have like 10 seconds left.
All right, well that's great. I can use this. Okay, thank you.
And then Eddie, where are you? Okay, why don't you come up here? We'll get you ready. You'll go next. And then Eugene, and am I forgetting anyone else? Does anyone else want to demo something? You don't actually have to play that. So if you have something you just want to demo, I have to make sure I have your name on it. Okay, all right. That will be the order for that. Good luck. Thank you. There's your mic. Which one? Oh, HDMI is great.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna update. You are.
Okay. Cool.
You got the microphone?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you. My name is Yuanji, and today I'll talk about the book I read called Reinforced Learning Introduction by Rich Sutton and Bartle. And I also watched the video by the David Silver, who was the PhD student of the Rich Sutton's, talk about the introduction to reinforced learning. So I just do the exercise on the book. I put that in my GitHub account. If you go to github.com/reinforced learning and introduction, you will find the code over there. So today, I'll just talk about one example I use that to solve the problem. So here is the 4x4 grid. And in the 4x4 grid, there's about 14 state. 14 cell is kind of different state. And they have two cells is called terminal state. So that means when you drop somebody into one of the cell, then they just randomly or purposely walk around in the cells. And when they reach the terminal state, they stop. So we want to figure out how we want to list the random person to walk in this way. So the idea is we use called reinforced learning. So every step we just go, we can have some action. In every state, we can have some action. I can go up, down, left, right. And every action will cause the reward. And reward always like a -1. But when we reach the terminal state, now we stop. And the terminal state, the value of the terminal state always 0. So we want to do this, we want to calculate called a value function of all the state. So here's the code. I use the function programming M to build this code. The evaluate function is pretty straightforward. We give a matrix, that's the values of this state. Then we also give the policy, so how we want to drive those actions. And we also give like this is a kind of indicator if we want to go one step or multiple steps, or just looping until iterative until we finish. Then the return is just the value function of the final result. So inside the code, we use the matrix index map to try to use the previous last iteration's values then to drive the current iteration's values. So the formula is very simple. It's a reward plus discount times the value about the surrounding state. So the surrounding state is how the action, when we take any action, we go up, down, left, right. We got the surrounding state, and we just using that to calculate my reward. Then we got new value. And based on this policy, we pick what kind of value we want to use. If the policy is random policy, we just using the average. We just average out all those values, we got the return. If it's optimal policy, we pick the maximum. We find out which one give me the maximum reward. I will do that. So that's the optimal policy. So here, I show you a demo. Very simple. Read word. So it's not fancy at all compared to Joshua's. So this is an initial state. Everything is all 0 because at first we don't know what's the value of the state. So we just assign everybody. Every state is 0 value. Now we go one step. Okay, that means okay. So here we are using called random policy. That means when we drop somebody into one of the state, and you randomly go up, down, left, right, and we find out, okay, what's the reward we got? Then actually we average out is -1 because every step they got -1 reward, and because 4 actions, then we got -4, and average out is -1. So that's one iteration. If we go next iteration, you see for here, it doesn't change because when we go left, it's terminal state. So it's kind of, oops, I think, sorry, apologize. This is the optimal policy now. I should use called random policy. If random is just average out, so let's see. If random not, then we still go to 4 actions, but because here the left step, the final this state value is 0, so we average out, it becomes -1.75. But for all the others, this one is -2. So okay, so that's the final result. Is the value indicate how many steps I need to go until we reach the terminal state. So it means if we go randomly, for here, I maybe average, I could do 18 steps, I reach the terminal state. Here is 14. But if I go optimal, I change to optimal, I mean, every step I use the optimal, I mean, I could find the best. Then I got this one. This is the final result. So I mean, here, I only need to go one step left to reach the final state. But here, I have to go 2 steps, go up, go left to the final. Here, there was 3 steps, up, left, left. You can see we just changed the policy. I can get totally different value. And this functional programming makes those kind of iterations very easy. So that's my demo. Thank you.
All right, that was really cool. Thank you. So we've got 2 more speakers left tonight. We've got Ian up next. Getting everyone mixed up now. Eddie, I'll let you take it away here. I'm just gonna state your name.
Is your project open source already?
It uses an open source library, but no, it's not. Yeah. Oh, thanks. I made it.
You made it, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So mine? Or you? Sorry. Yeah, my name's Eddie. I work at Jobber. I'm going to be talking today about element queries and making truly reusable components. So we've all seen a sort of project that looks kind of like this. We have a small sidebar, a content area, and a regular sidebar. Normally the way we would build components and projects is with media queries, where a media query detects your device or your browser size, and you can style your component towards that. So sometimes that doesn't always work, and I'm going to show you why. So I have a very basic component here in React, just called a card, and I'm going to insert my card into one of my spots. I'm not going to do live coding. I'm just going to uncomment because live coding is too hard. So you'll see that it looks okay here. It's not the best, but I set this up really quick. So now we might have some requirements in our project that we need this to be moved over to our other sidebar. So I'm going to move it over to our other sidebar. And our component is still kind of reusable. It's still like not great. But now let's say that we see that this is converting really well, and we want it in this main content area so that everyone can read it. We add our same component to our main content area, and all of a sudden, this is not very reusable anymore. It's kind of gross and huge. So here, a media query wouldn't work because we want the same component used in different areas of our site, and we don't want to, like, just because our browser is large, we might not want our small component to change. So there is this library, CSS element queries. It is on NPM, and it's a JavaScript library that attaches an attribute to your elements, a min-width attribute. So after we install it, which I've already done, we can just import it into our component with just import element queries. And then we attach this listen method that just attaches it to our DOM. So when we do that, you'll see that nothing happens. We still have this huge, messy component. But what we can do is now go into our component CSS, and we can write this CSS here, and you'll see that there is this, I'll make it a bit bigger, min-width selector. And all this tilde equal sign is doing is saying any class with an attribute that contains 500 pixels. Then we can change the style on it. So now when I change the style on this, I go back, and now I have the same component, but it looks a little bit better in my content area. So I can actually reuse this throughout different areas of my site. This is a super basic example, but we could use this on sort of any element, and instead of like taking this card and creating a wider version or adding some additional modifiers to it, we just add some simple CSS and it's now reusable. This is a polyfill, and it works cross-browser. It uses the resize observer API to do what it does. And I do see that in the future, CSS will eventually get element queries, but right now it doesn't. So this is kind of a workaround for it. So that's my, oh, and I have this open to just show that this attribute just selects anything that contains that value. So yeah, that is all for my presentation of reusable components.
Besides for normal, I don't know, heart speed is crazy. That's all. If you can help with that, I would gladly appreciate it. Need to leave this here, or maybe
pretty much forever.
I just put it here, just in case I like twist or turn and then like break this thing. Oh jeez.
You know, it's I've dropped it. It's pretty interesting. But I don't know.
No, I'm gonna demo two things. The first one, you don't want to see the code. The second one isn't.
The first one, the code is just, yeah. I could. No is the right answer, yes.
Do you want 3-minute split then if it's 2?
Yeah. I'll just do 2 together at 1 because I don't want people to stop like having pizza.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you want. Here we go.
Okay. I built this. This is absolutely useless, but it was a hackathon for building super useless things, and I loved it. So this is my version of what came up. This is the first of 2 demos. Shoot. Oh man, there's such a lag. This is gonna be hard. Seriously, wow. Oh no, can't even get there. All right, so yes, I mean, follow the instructions and then we'll get back to something else. We'll keep going. Oh no. So this one works best if it's just like a single clap. But as you can see, with the lag and everything else, I'm not gonna force this to work because I've never really gotten people to in a crowd to get it to work. But the idea is like you clap, although that's a cheat because that bird is just over all the obstacles at this point. So I have not seen that happen. People usually try somewhat, but that is the demo. And I just wanted to show something quickly on that note too. Sorry, this is a little bit tricky because I'm extending this monitor across, and so everything is super laggy. Wait, Control R. Please just let that work. Oh no. Yeah, so it didn't cross the finish line either. Anyways, what I was going to show you guys is that there's a certain decay as well, so it's not just a fake thing, but the idea is, yeah, the louder you yell, because the general idea is we hear about open data all the time, right? And it's such a like buzzword that I just want like, yeah, maybe we do something similar to that, to kind of a little bit of mocking, a little bit of truth to it, so it does actually get bigger. So that was my first demo, very quick. The second one is still something to do with volume, not quite the same thing, but well, hopefully this works. And then now I have to play this little game of trying to figure out where my mouse button is going to land. There you go. Okay, so it's a little bit of context. So before I even get to this, sorry, probably shouldn't hide. So when I say, when we talk about politics, let's go with an American example. Which political party do you think of when I say the word immigration? Yes. So I think that's generally what people would think of. You can agree that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that in general is what happens in the US when it comes to elections. So there is a topic that is kind of given to this specific party, right? Or that in general, more people in America trust the GOP or at least link the GOP to a topic like immigration. This is based on some research from the university about based on that concept. So we were trying to look at what happens when you use that sort of analysis on this recent political election that happened. So there is kind of a little weird of a graph or chart. Basically, this flickering that you see is before and then after. How many people here have used WinApp before? I'm dating myself. Yes, there are people who know this. Right, I mean, like, there's the equalizer everybody's familiar with. So the idea here is, oh, please just click. There we go. Oh, this is going to be a little bit hard to do. So what you're seeing here is, this is, make this smaller. Okay, so what you're seeing here right now is this is election night. This is debate night. So for that day, basically everything kind of trends up. You see this little flickering. Basically, what happened? The difference between volume of tweets about particular topics from the day before to the day after. The NDP tends to be associated with socially minded policies, so civic rights and education. Tweets that belong in that category kind of get summed up in this one, and then you get the overall. But overall, for that particular day, debate day, you see this major change. Now, here's the tricky part again with my mouse. I kind of want to get to this one. I think that's really the only point I want to make. Oh, so painful, right? All right. So this is really interesting. So this particular time was, I think, the Monday, or this is a Monday. The UCP released their education platform, which should be a good thing for the UCP, but at the same time, there was a lot of controversy that came around with that, right? So as a result, what happened was you got a lot of people tweeting about GSAs, the gay straight alliances. So that's the pattern that happened. So in a sense of a political campaign that wants to lead in terms of having their conversation or their topics told on Twitter or other sort of things, that was useful for the MTP. Now we know what happened at the end. I mean, this isn't like a correlation is a causation sort of thing, but it was kind of an interesting way to analyze, to analyze Twitter volume, to analyze political discourse, and then ideally we'll do this. I'm looking forward to doing this for the federal election and then the US election this upcoming year. That was it. My demos are really short. Thanks. I'm gonna disconnect.
Yep.
That was it.
That was great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Eugene. And I just want to say thank you. Oh, no, I've got the mic back.
Oh, right.
I just want to say thank you to all our presenters tonight, too. I think that's the most that we've ever had in one night. So thank you. I think the voting form has been updated, too. I posted links on Slack and Twitter and places like that, but we'll put a link up here on the screen, too, if you want to vote. But first, why don't you go take a break? The pizza's here. Go grab a slice. Think about what you saw, and if you have any questions, you can let the presenters know or myself. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is like pizza instructions. So all the plates and the two drinks are on the kind of faraway table. So the close table here is like all the meat pizzas, and then there's like a couple of veggie pizzas on the table plate. There's also a gluten-free / vegan pizza. Both one in there as well, the little guy, and then there's a Boston pizza box, which is a place that event a couple of hours ago. It's like a hodgepodge of cooler, room temperature. It's kind of like a bonus. Yeah. So just
And I guess maybe just so that everyone has a time in mind, we'll close the voting at 8:20, and then maybe announce a couple minutes after that the winners. So, okay? Okay. Let me know if you're getting sound, and then I'll start talking. Okay. All right. Are you picking me up loud enough there? Is it okay? Okay. All right, guys. I think we are re-AV'd and ready to start. So thank you to everyone who voted. This is very exciting. We had like a lot of votes, so that's awesome. Thank you. And I think we just have to give one more round of applause to all of our speakers tonight. It takes a lot of guts to get up here, do these demos. There was live coding, so much stuff. It was great. So thank you, everybody that did the talk tonight. So I'm not going to talk too much longer here. What's going to happen is the judges are going to come up. They know the winners. They have 3 prizes, and I actually don't know the winners myself. So I'm going to be on the edge of my seat waiting to see who wins here. So I will just pass it off to them and let them take over the show. So come on up, guys. Give you the tiny microphone.
Tiny microphone. All right, so the first prize is for community choice. So this is the one that you guys all just voted on. And the winner is for the PROC table, Josh. Congratulations.
All right. Awesome.
You've now got 6 minutes to talk to thank everyone. I'm just joking.
Okay, the next award is for the special selection. This is the one that the judges picked. And this one goes to Ian, who did the talk. Congratulations. Yeah, you stand there and I'll get a picture. I didn't do any pictures last year, so this is me like making up for it.
First, that's making everyone busy who's watching the corner.
This award is for open source, and it goes to Derek. Incredibly useful.
Yeah! Oh, get back up here. We need a picture. All right.
Yay.
Sweet guys. Nice. All right. Well, congratulations to all our winners tonight. Thanks to everybody. You all really did a great job, and it was really deserved. So yeah, let us know where those trophies end up. I guess we know we're too embarrassing, but I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. So thank you very much. We're gonna do this again next year, and so start thinking about your lightning talks now. These are very prestigious awards. I promise you. So we're going to do it a bit backwards. I'm going to quickly go through the news and stuff like that. Honestly, I didn't gather a lot of it this month because we were more focused on the speakers. In terms of jobs, are there anyone here that's looking to hire people? We have like maybe the 10-second who you are, how to get in touch with you thing if you are looking to hire. Is Jobber looking to hire right now? Yeah. Jobber's always hiring.
Yeah, we have a lot right now. We're like really ramping up our hiring right now. So I'm Sean. We met. I'm the technical lead with our operations department at Jobber. I know on the product team, we're hiring a ton of roles, all of engineering and design, but also the BizOps team. We're also doing a lot of cool things with like data and tooling and just like trying to so if you're kind of more interested in that side, we have lots of stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And get in touch on. Perfect.
Come find me out.
Perfect. Was anyone else hiring right now? All right, and anyone looking to get hired, raise your hands and you'll probably be pounced on. All right, a couple people back there, a couple people over here. Okay, so you guys can all descend on Sean after if you want.
I don't know if I can talk to 4 people at once, but I'll try.
Were there any big releases in the last month here that people want to mention? I don't know. I know like Facebook is now React. That's a big thing, I guess. I don't know if it wasn't React before, but they were really into saying their new launch was all React. So that's a big deal, I guess. Redux. Nice. Okay. into Redux. Nice.
It's also built in there, that new graph library too as well.
Oh. Great. Okay. Okay. Were there any other big releases this month that people saw? Any other packages or anything like that? Okay. Events coming up. I know there's a couple. Maybe I'll let Dan talk about an event that he has at Nate, and I think another one too.
One Python meetup. Like this format, have lightning talks. We're actually still looking for speakers on that, so if you dabble in both languages, possibly second one, I work at Nate. We want to try to help create better developers at Nate. Improve the content. So if you have hired, interested in hiring, working with, or interested in improving content, as a whole, please reach out to me on the Slack. All I need is all we're asking for is to fill out a 8-question survey and like. This is looking for a little bit more of seniors or hiring managers. That, but any advice is really appreciated. So, one,
Okay, cool. I can vouch for the quality of the pastries at that because I went to it last year, and I don't know if it was the culinary school or something because Nate has a culinary school. They were very good though. So, okay. So moving on, we mentioned the Slack a million times. We have a Slack. It's good. I shouldn't say that. This date is wrong. I guess I did not update this slide. The next meetup is a little important. We're gonna get people to help out with next year, and we usually do a lot of that planning and stuff over the summer. So ignore the date here. Whatever the first Thursday in June is when our next meetup is. Please come out, get involved. I promise it's not a lot of work. Basically, we're just like every month, find speakers. And then the more people we have doing that, the cooler the speakers are that we get. So you're contributing back. It's awesome. And the other thing too is we are going to have a barbecue. I would just like to do a quick random poll here. Who would like to do a barbecue in June and who would like to do it in July? So show of hands for barbecue in June. Okay, some people. And barbecue in July? Okay, so about the same. Okay, so we'll figure out what maybe some dates that work from the perspective of where we could do it and let you know. But there is a chance then that the June one may also be a barbecue at the same time. So we like to wrap up doing that every year. And thanks to our sponsors. Jobber has been a really great sponsor for quite a while. You guys have been really helpful about buying all this fancy gear and stuff, which really does help a lot. Same with Dotdash. Dotdash is a relatively newer partner, and they've been really good about supporting us as well. Was anyone from Dotdash here tonight? Oh, yes, there we go, Heather. Thank you. And where's Dan? Oh, okay. So Heather and Dan are here from Dotdash tonight too. Also, Startup Edmonton is great. Like they give us this cool space, and they're just very good about supporting us and with things that we need.
They also gave us that one box of lights.
Right. There you go. And actually, that's a good note to end on. I don't know why I have the wrong slide twice, but I do. So on that note, we will end because I don't know about you, but I'm still a little hungry. I'm gonna go downstairs and have some more food at the Mercer. So anyone who wants to hang out and celebrate their victory or commiserate their loss or however you want to do it, join us down there. Do not wait for me. I take about 10 minutes to pack this up. So go get a table, get your drinks. I will come down, I promise. So thank you for coming tonight. See you next month.